Hi, I am Victor Paredes and I want to show you how to create a work cycle using the new additive cycle option coming in Anime Studio 11.2. So we have a character, and to create a work cycle in Anime Studio, you go to frame 1 and use the manipulate bone tool to create the first pose. So in this case I want this pose. Okay, so once I have the pose I want, I will go to bone and freeze pose. Okay, so now I will create the first step. So I will go to this frame, and what I have to do is to move the legs to the opposite direction. So the leg which is behind will be in front and the other leg will be in the back. Okay, so I have to create this, and I will make something similar with the arms. Okay, in this case I will keep the arm here. Okay, but to create a better work cycle I will use onion skins. So with this button I will turn on onion skins, and I will go to the options of the onion skin, and I will uncheck relative frames and draw behind. Okay, so now I have this onion skin. By clicking here I will delete this onion skin, and by clicking here I will put an onion skin in the frame 1. So now I know how the frame 1 looks. So I will pose my character to fit with the position of frame 1, but with the opposite legs. Okay, so I have my first step, and I will freeze this pose again. So I freeze the pose, and now I will go to frame 25 for this example, and this is the next step of my character. So the next step, the pose is exactly the same pose in frame 1, so I will select these keyframes and I will copy and paste these keyframes in frame 25. So now I have this. Okay, it is a very basic movement, but the character now looks a little how she is walking. Okay, now I will go to the middle of the movement here, the middle of the first step, and I will take the leg which was at the back and I will move it up. Okay, because it is being moved to the top. So I have this. Okay, and in the next step, in the middle I will make the same, but for the other leg. So I will take this leg and move it up. So I have this. Okay, and now it looks a little better for a work cycle, but of course it is still not working. Now each step has a down and an up. So I will add a down here. Okay, and an up here. Okay, so you can see now how the character is going down and up during the step. And if I make down and up for the first step, I need to make it for the second one too. But I can simply take these two keyframes and copy and paste them in the second step. So now I have this. Okay, so now let's suppose my work cycle is ready. Of course it can be better, but to me it is okay for this example. So now normally when you have this in Anime Studio 11 and before, you select the last keys of your work cycle, right click here and select cycle interpolation. So now the keyframe window will be open, and I will tell the software that my work cycle will go back to frame 2 Okay, because I don't want the cycle to go back to frame 1, because frame 1 and frame 25 are exactly the same. So I don't want to repeat that frame. Okay, so I want my character to go back to frame 2 instead of 1. So now I have a cycle for my character. So this is how normally you made walk cycles. And now if you wanted your character to move, I can take the transform layer tool and in frame 1 move my character to the position I want, and in second 5, for example, I can move the character to the side. Okay, so now I have this animation, but this is not perfect, and you can see how the legs or how the feet are sliding in the ground. So you can see how this is not working because the speed of the walk cycle is not the same speed of the layer being moved. So you have to adjust this keyframe to make it faster or slower, and also helps to make this keyframe linear, so you know your walk cycle is working at constant speed. Okay, but anyway, it is a little hard to get a right walk cycle without sliding here. Okay, so of course it can be done, but it requires a little more work. So now I want to play with another kind of cycle, the new additive cycle. So I will erase all these keyframes. Okay, and I will start again. So I have my first step and I will create the next step. So again, I will turn on the onion skin in frame 1 and I will move the legs to the opposite position. Okay, let's suppose here and here. Okay, and now I will freeze this pose. So I have my first step. But with this new kind of cycle, I need to move the character to the right. So to make that, I will select all the bones of my character. Okay, I am using the select bone tool, and now I will use the transform bone tool. Okay, and with this tool I can move the bones, scale them or rotate them. Okay, so in this case I want to move them, so I will press Alt in the keyboard to move the bones, and I will move the bones to the right. So you can see how I am moving the entire character to the right. Okay, and here is the important part. I want to put the position of my leg in the same position the foot was in frame 1. So I will put it here, so you know how the movement here, so you can see the foot is in the same position, and this is very important. So now I have this. Okay, of course you can make it better, but this is the idea. Okay, I will create the next frame, and the next frame or the next keyframe need to be exactly the same, or the pose needs to be exactly the same pose that it is in frame 1. So I will copy and paste the keyframes from frame 1, but again I will use onion skins to move my character to the right. So I will put an onion skin in this frame, because you can see how the character is going forward and then back, and I don't want this. I want the character continue going forward. So I will select the transform bone tool again, press Alt in the keyboard and I will move the character to the right and make the feet, or this foot, to be in the same position in both frames. Okay, so now I will turn off onion skins and you can see how the character is moving to the right. Okay, and now I can make the leg to go up. So I will take this leg to go up, right? And for the next step, the other leg will go up. Okay, so I am repeating the same process of the previous work cycle. And I need to add a little down and up, so I will move my character down here and up here. Okay, and I need to make the same down and up in the next step, but if I copy and paste these keyframes, I will make it, but it won't work. If I copy and paste this, you can see how the character is going back, because these keyframes are in a position more to the left of the screen, so I can't simply copy and paste these keyframes. What I need to do is to select these three keyframes, okay, the keyframe in frame 1 and the other two. I will copy them and then I will go to this frame, okay, and I will paste them, but in a different way. I will go to edit here and I will paste relative. So if I do that, I repeat the same movement but in a relative way. So now the up and down is happening well in the other step, so the up and down is going to the right too. Okay, so paste relative is very powerful to make this kind of stuff. You want to repeat a movement, but you want that movement to happen in a different place. Okay, but it is the same movement, but it is happening in a different place. Okay, so now I have a very basic work cycle and it is working. Of course, you can continue adding more keyframes here to make it work better, but it is good for this example. So now I am done with the work cycle and I will select the last keyframes from this work cycle and right click here and select cycle interpolation. So again, I will press 2 here. Okay, I will put 2. So now the cycle will go back to frame 2. But I now get this. My character is going forward and then back. Okay, because it is a normal cycle. But now I will select the keyframes again. I will check additive cycle. Okay, and if I check this and now test my character continues walking to the right. So you can see I only create 2 steps and the software make the rest of the steps. So I don't need to move the layer, I don't need to adjust the speed or anything. And the good thing about this is that in this case the character is working at constant speed. So you have a very similar result than you could in previous versions. But the good thing about this is that I can create irregular work cycles. For example, I can make this step to be longer than the previous one. So now if I hit play, I will have the character working fast and slow, fast and slow. You see? Or I can make maybe not so slow, but I can make this step. I can copy and paste these keyframes here, so the character won't move during this time. So now I have this, the character is still, and then continues working, then still, continue working. You see? So you can create more interesting work cycles with this. So the good thing is I can continue doing this. So maybe I want my character to go down here and go down here, so now I have this. So you see, it is very useful. And of course, if I want to stop the work cycle, I simply add keyframes to the bone. So I will double click on the rotation, translation and scale channels, and now the cycle stopped, and I can put my character in another pose. Okay, you can define a better pose, but this is the idea. So you see, it is a little checkbox, but it is very powerful. So I have been using it for a while. And for example, I made the same cycle for this gorilla. So now I have the cycle here, and you can see how the gorilla continues moving to the right. And the same happens with this little logo character. He has a very silly walk. Okay. So this is the idea. Now you can use this cycle for different work cycles, or you can use it for other kind of animation. So for example, if I have this box and move it here, let's suppose I want this box to jump here. Okay, so I am creating the jump. Okay, so my box is jumping here, and let's suppose it is also rotating. Sorry, I will. Okay, it is rotating, and then when it gets the next position, the box is rotated this way. Okay, so now I can select these keyframes and select cycle. Okay, and I have now a normal cycle which goes to frame 2. But if I select additive cycle, I have my character or my box going up. You see? So I could add other kind of keyframes. So for example, I can, in frame 1, I can reset the scale, and in this frame I can make the scale bigger. Okay, and if I set a cycle for that, additive cycle for that, I will have my character getting bigger on each step. So, and if I, of course, if I make the characters smaller, it will be smaller on each step. So this is the idea with additive cycle. I think it is a very powerful little feature, and you can make this kind of movement or other kind of experiments. So for example, if I move this character here and here and here, I don't know what will happen with this, but if I set an additive cycle for this, I have a different kind of movement. You see? You could use it also with bones. So if I have a, oops, let me make again the bone layer. So if I have a, for example, a clock, and you want it will move like this, and then we'll go back. So I have this movement. Okay, so now I create a cycle for it. Okay, and I press additive cycle. I have this, so I can create some kind of machine with this, so the movement continues. Of course, the most simple example is a clock, but you can create other kind of tests. So this is the tutorial. I hope you enjoy this new feature because I think it is very cool. Okay, thank you for watching. Bye.